Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, we got a little rain last night. Some pretty gnarly storms blew through from Oklahoma across the Ozarks. I'm sure many of you have known about it. And we got some significant rain here. Let me show you here. About right there is where I normally stand when you see me out here making these videos. And that's about 18 inches underwater, maybe 12, something like that. Significant amount of rain. It all came in at once. It rained for maybe 30, 45 minutes, and we got several inches of rain in that 30 to 45 minutes. But thankfully, we didn't have anything too severe. The wind was blowing, but it wasn't extreme. I mean, there's things in our yard that should have easily blown away and moved around, and it didn't. So there wasn't any extreme wind, no hail, no tornado threat. Unfortunately, over in central Oklahoma, I think Barnsdall, Oklahoma, north of Tulsa, does look like they got some pretty significant tornadoes there. Maybe a few places else, north of Springfield, Missouri, possible tornado. And then all up north of us here, there was some areas. So definitely be keeping those areas and those families in your prayer that have been affected by this. There's some pretty significant damage in Oklahoma. I know that just mentioning this is going to bring up the question of, or the conversation of, who is this being manipulated? This storm followed a very similar path as a storm a couple weeks ago. The intensity in these storms is seeming to be very unusual. So is it man-made manipulation, or is it just climate change? Who knows? Maybe it's a little bit of both, but I'd say that there's definitely some manipulation going on. But anyways, that's not what I wanted to talk about today. What I noticed yesterday, this was in the news. I've not seen really anyone talk about it online very much, and it's possible that this is one of the more significant things that's kind of slipped out in the news here lately. And I think these kind of things are kind of a slip, not accidental, purposeful, but they're just meant to just not be the front page of the news, purposely let out just so that it can just kind of be out there, and then they can say, well, we did our job by telling everyone what's going on. Blackrock, which many of you know who Blackrock is, they are the largest asset manager on the planet. They manage over $10 trillion in assets. They, along with Vanguard, own just about every company on the planet, or at least have a share or controlling share of just about every significant company on this planet. Not just in the United States, not just in Europe, everywhere. These, between BlackRock and Vanguard, they're considered kind of the ones that are maybe at the top of the food chain, really controlling everything. So typically when BlackRock speaks, it's fairly significant. I mean, it's they're the kind of people that kind of control governments and tell, central banks what to do and things like that. So BlackRock has sent out a memo, a letter, or whatever to their investors, and they are advising their investors that if they have any of their holdings or any of their assets in US dollars, in US currency, like just cash, that they need to get out of that. They need to dump the cash and move that into bonds or something else that's stable. And in this memo, they actually mentioned talking about what BRICS is doing, China and Russia and India and Brazil and South Africa, the BRICS bloc that's now just growing and growing and growing. They say that there's over 30 nations this year that are wanting to join it. BRICS has been strongly encouraging all of its participants to get off the US dollar, and I think it's starting to show. I've talked about this for a while, that this is significant and this is going to be affecting the US dollar. Others have too. That this is a very powerful block, a very powerful, pieces to the global economy that are now saying, we don't want to have anything to do with the U.S. dollar. And we're seeing that more and more. Now, Blackrock is advising their people to get out of the U.S. dollar. That's very, very, very significant. It's also being done, and I want to be fair, is that they're doing this because they believe that their investors would be better off with the return in areas like bonds and other investments than the money or returns they would get by just keeping their holdings in U.S. dollars. But really, that's kind of the same thing, because they see that the U.S. dollar is weak. They see that it's, I know you're not technically getting returns off of just having your wealth in just cash, but it's always typically been considered solid. If you have millions and millions of dollars and you have a bunch of it invested, but you just wanted to keep some of it so that, you didn't care about getting a return off of it. You just wanted it in a solid spot. You wanted it in a place that you weren't going to lose any money. Put it in U.S. currency, right? Well, that's not the case anymore. Inflation is continually going up. The value of the U.S. dollar is continually going down. And the de-dollarization is happening literally right before our eyes. And there are many, many people that just keep saying this is never going to happen. They're not. The dollar is never going to lose its value. Those people could be correct, but I don't believe they are, because no currency on earth ever lasts forever. And the way that the U.S. dollar is behaving, the way the U.S. government is behaving, the way the Federal Reserve is behaving, why would we even consider that it's going to last forever? Just because it's the U.S. dollar, there's nothing else more significant in it. Yes, it's been used around the world for everything and everybody, but that's changing. All the things that's made the U.S. dollar significant is dramatically changing right before our eyes. So I'm telling you, now, I don't want anyone to go panic and think that I'm saying that the U.S. dollar is going to collapse in the next few days or in the next few weeks. Probably not likely. But is the U.S. dollar on its way out? I think this may be the biggest sign yet that BlackRock is telling their people, dump U.S. dollars. It's not secure anymore. It's not stable. Get into something, put your wealth into something that's more stable. It's eventually going to happen. And it's going to happen probably in the future. When I say near, again, I'm not saying days or weeks, but months, a few years, is where we're going to start seeing the real value being lost. And while most of you probably are in the similar ship as myself, where you don't have lots of wealth anyways, it's still going to affect us, because the purchasing power, look at how much money you have to spend now on groceries. So the estimates are 40 to 50% at minimum, that you're spending more now in groceries than you were 4 or 5 years ago. Everything's that way. Auto insurance is just through the roof. Energy costs through the roof. Purchasing a home through the roof. Everything, rent, it's all getting ridiculous. It's not because those things are more expensive. Those things just don't magically become worth more. It's because the U.S. dollar is worth less. Gold, $2,300 some odd dollars. It fluctuates all the time, but an ounce, whereas it wasn't that long ago that it was, $1,600, $1,700, $1,800 an ounce. Gold has not increased its value, not one penny. What's happened? The U.S. dollar that you're using to purchase the gold has lost value. So now you have to put more U.S. dollars, in the bowl, in the whatever, so that you can get that little bit of gold that you're buying. Our currency, our money, is losing its value. It's being de-dollarized around the world. And I tend to believe that it's being done on purpose and controlled and manipulated by the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury. I think they want it to happen too, because they're trying to squeeze every little bit of wealth they can out of everything and keep it for themselves. That's why we've seen this massive wealth transfer over the last few years, the greatest wealth transfer in human history. And when it's all dried up, when they've squeezed every little drop out of the US dollar, it'll collapse, and that's when they'll bring in their central bank digital currency. Again, I know, not a popular topic, but still, this is extremely significant, folks. This will absolutely directly affect every single one of you. Look at countries that went through hyperinflation, that their currency became worthless, and what it did to them. It was absolutely chaotic. It was apocalyptic. And that is exactly what we may be facing here in the United States in the near future, along with many other things too. And it's quite possible that it'll be a cascading effect of different things happening, all in a kind of a, one right after another. And it's going to be devastating. And we need to get ready for it, folks. Don't just think that the US dollar, because it's just always been and it's always been accepted, is the thing that's going to save us. It's not. Yeah, that money in your pocket, how little you may have, eventually people are going to realize it's just pieces of paper. And when that happens, it's going to be chaotic. We need to be ready for that, folks. It's time to get your houses in order and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.